I mean, I want to go back to that. The FBI, Mueller, his whole thing. Where's that going?
In other words, he can control, there are many things that are cover-ups. And for whatever reason, he's allowed Mueller to remain. I agree with Bannon and with you and with others. He should have been dismissed and actually arrested. Mueller comes out of a very interesting background. The white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who served bravely in Vietnam and compromised his entire life and integrity for 9/11. And he was appointed the head of the FBI just before 9/11. This was part of the Bush gang, the Bush family, which should have been in prison, one of the most detrimental families to the American history. When Bannon correctly said 43 was a disaster, one of the worst presidents we've ever had, he really made the point.
Well, I mean, he's obviously a mental patient. I mean, W is a vegetable almost now.
So there's some new information coming to light that once again calls into question Special Counsel Robert Mueller's credibility. Now, it's not enough that he rubber-stamped the sale of U.S. uranium to a company with ties to the Kremlin. No, it turns out, thanks to some court documents recently filed by the government, that then FBI Director Mueller actually helped rubber stamp and cover up a connection between a Florida Saudi family with ties to 9/11 hijackers. So in September 2011, a report was filed by Florida journalism nonprofit Florida Bulldog, and it disclosed the existence of a secret FBI investigation of Sarasota Saudis with apparent ties to the 9/11 hijackers. So that news story was about the abrupt departure of Saudis Abdulaziz and Anud Al-Hiji from their Sarasota, Florida area home just about 2 weeks before 9/11. The couple left in a hurry. They left behind their cars, clothes, furniture, jewelry, and other personal items. It also reported the fact that Congress had been kept in the dark about this investigation. Now, this is key because it means the FBI kept its inquiry a secret from both the 9/11 Commission and Congress's prior joint inquiry into the attacks. Now, within days of that report, FBI officials in Miami and Tampa, under Mueller's leadership, issued misleading statements that were meant to discredit the story. The official statement asserted that agents had found no connection between the Sarasota Saudi family and the 9/11 plot. But thanks to continuing FOIA litigation brought by Florida Bulldog, the FBI had already released reports that contradicted that public statement. The FBI's own files said the opposite, that agents found many connections between the family and individuals associated with the terrorist attacks on 9/11-2001. So just to refresh your memory, Sarasota, Florida is where 3 of the 9/11 hijackers were trained in flight school. Sarasota also just so happens to be the place President Bush was at on 9/11. The morning of 9/11, he was in an elementary school reading books to children. Imagine it was so random. People were like, why is he here in our little tiny rinky-dink town? Of course, that couldn't be as random as the fact that Bush founded an oil company with Osama bin Laden's brother, or that a lot of the bin Ladens are invested in the Carlyle Group, and once the connection between the Bushes and the bin Ladens was revealed, Poppy Bush had to step down as the senior advisor there at the Carlyle Group. On 9/11, Poppy Bush was actually hanging out with another one of bin Laden's brothers. And of course, we all know how that turned out the next day. While every other plane was supposed to be grounded, the bin Ladens were allowed to fly out of the United States. So everything is very, very weird here, very odd. And as we can see, these actors who have been in the government, this shadow government, these deep state actors, are taking care of their own for decades and covering stuff up. And so that takes me back to Mueller's credibility issue. So even before this Saudi cover-up documents were exposed, Judicial Watch ran a story back in May of 2017 where they were reminding everyone how under Mueller's leadership, the FBI purged all anti-terrorism training material deemed offensive to Muslims after secret meetings between Islamic organizations, including those with documented ties to terrorism.
It's beyond Banana Republic. And then Mueller walks around, and I'm surprised they don't blow horns and go, "Dun, dun, 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 the royal king is here. Unelected master appointed by the Deputy Attorney General." And Mueller, who is past his eyeballs in Russian collusion, And so that's why he went after Trump and myself and everybody else, saying that we're Russian agents. And they have just hundreds of articles this week just saying, it's confirmed Jones works for the Russians. And it's just beyond bizarre to see them accuse Rand Paul, Tucker Carlson, and then meanwhile, Mueller is on tarmacs giving weapons-grade uranium to the FSB. That's the KGB. And the Bagman, and killing investigations into the Clintons, and then appointing people like Phil Mudd, who was with the CIA to the FBI, to go on television and say, we're going to kill the president. You don't see people in third world countries doing that. It's beyond Banana Republic. And then Mueller walks around, and I'm surprised they don't blow horns and go, dun, 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 the royal king is here. Unelected master, appointed by the Deputy Attorney General, the man who will decide who can be president and who will veto the voters. Oh, Robert, in bed with Russia, Mueller. And I'm like, is this really happening? I mean, if they had me on tarmacs with uranium to the Russians, I'd say arrest me. And I love how when he walks around with these other people, they all color coordinate and have the same ties, just different colors, and it's all like this fashion show where he walks real like he's powerful. Just everyone's like, look at me, and everyone goes, oh, it's Mueller. Oh, he's so... I mean, this is a new royalty. And the media spins that and goes, Jones believes that Mueller will be made literal king of Earth, Newsweek. Jones is totally insane, in between saying there's slave colonies on Mars, never said that, no video, no audio. In between saying there's Mars colonies of slaves, Jones says Mueller will be a king. I'm saying he's acting outside of government and law as a coup d'etat, just as Congressman Gates is now saying out of Florida.
And Mr. Speaker, we are at risk of a coup d'etat in this country if we allow an unaccountable person with no oversight to undermine the duly elected president of the United States. And I would offer that is precisely what is happening right now with the indisputable conflicts of interest that are present with Mr. Mueller and others at the Department of Justice. I join my colleague, the gentleman from Arizona, in calling for Mr. Mueller's resignation or his firing. Moreover, we absolutely have to see the Department of Justice appoint a special counsel to look into the Clinton Foundation, the Uranium One deal, and the Fusion GPS dossier that I will now have the opportunity to discuss. I really don't know who's investigating the Uranium One deal right now. I know that in July, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, along with 20 members of the Judiciary Committee, sent a letter to Attorney General Sessions asking who would be looking into these critical questions, demanding that a special counsel be appointed to conduct a thorough review. And it is extremely disappointing that the chairman of the Judiciary Committee...
Well, that is Congressman Matt Gaetz, medical doctor, psychological warfare guy, done a lot of stuff, run operations, overturned governments, you name it. And he's been talking about the civil war inside our government, inside the intelligence agencies, and what he sees getting ready to happen in the Middle East, where he sees what's happening with Trump, what's going on with Mueller. I mean, I want to go back to that. The FBI, Mueller, his whole thing. Where's that going?
In other words, he can control, there are many things that are cover-ups. And for whatever reason, he's allowed Mueller to remain. I agree with Bannon and with you and with others. He should have been dismissed and actually arrested. Mueller comes out of a very interesting background. The white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who served bravely in Vietnam and compromised his entire life and integrity for 9/11. And he was appointed the head of the FBI just before 9/11. This was part of the Bush gang, the Bush family, which should have been in prison, one of the most detrimental families to the American history. When Bannon correctly said 43 was a disaster, one of the worst presidents we've ever had, he really made the point.
Well, I mean, he's obviously a mental midget, mental patient. I mean, W is a vegetable almost now.